Hello, everybody. Other Voices began 18 years ago, and it began with the purpose of inviting musicians to come to this most musical part of the world and to go to the very small church of St. James and stand on a stage and raise their voices to sing. And I just want to tell you just a very short little story about songs, because there's a very interesting bunch and mixed bunch of people in this room. There's a lot of engineers in the room, and there's some economists in the room, and there's some civil servants in the room, and there's some artists in the room, and some musicians. And sometimes when we look at the proposition for Ireland, and sometimes when we looked at the way Ireland used to be, there's, in the century of independence that's passed, we've gained quite some confidence, I think, as a country. And a lot of that confidence is manifest, for me, in the way we present ourselves on a world stage. And it is, I understand, the state's stated mission and ambition, coming from the Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade, that we would increase our influence on an international stage by 100% by 2025. And we think about the ways we might go about doing this. If we looked at the depictions of Irish people, and I've told this story before, but I think it bears retelling, particularly those who migrated out of Ireland from places like this in the west of Ireland and went out across the world, and particularly if we looked at those depictions of those people after the famine. And we were having this discussion a little earlier on, and we looked at them and we said, well, clearly these people are poor, and clearly these people are carrying no worldly goods. And if we were being unkind and we were valuing the worth of these people, we might in fact say or deduce from the images that we've seen that these people are worthless. And you know what they carried with them when they left here and went to England, but most particularly to America, and when they unpacked the emotional baggage that they had in the great cities of Chicago and Boston and Philadelphia and New York City, something very rich became apparent, and something very valuable became apparent, because what they unpacked were the dreams and the songs and the stories of the places that they had left. And these songs and this music left an indelible thumbprint on the making of the Great American Songbook. But it became intellectual property, and it became part and parcel of Tin Pan Alley, and became part of the music business. And there is a poem by the great Donegal poet Moya Cannon, and it's called Carrying the Songs. And I'm just going to preface the tunes that ye Vagabonds are going to play and a little chat we're going to have with this poem, because these people are song carriers, and song carriers have a huge role to play and have a huge vitality and a huge importance. And what Moya Cannon said in her very powerful and passionate poem was, she said, "It was always those with little else to carry who carried the songs, to Babylon, to the Mississippi. Some of these last owned less than nothing, did not own their own bodies, yet 3 centuries later, deep rhythms of Africa in their hearts and their bones, they carry the world's songs. For those who left my county, girls from Downings and the Rosses, who followed the herring boats north to Shetland, gutting the sea's silver as they went, or boys from Ranafast who took the Derry boat and slept over a rope in a bothy. Songs were their soul's currency, the pure metal of their hearts, to be exchanged for other gold, for other songs which ring out true and bright when flung down upon the deal boards of their days." So it's a very powerful, passionate, evocative thing. And these songs that were carried out of here make a journey out into the world, and they come back to us in various different shapes and in various different forms. And this generation of singers, as exemplified by ye Vagabonds, who are Diarmuid and Brían who are two brothers who grew up in Carlow but have relationships with Donegal and relationships with different parts of Ireland, are a new generation of people who carry these wonderful songs and who make them their own as they go about the world. They released a remarkable album earlier this year on the Rough Trade River Lee record label, an English record label called The Hare's Lament. It won the Album of the Year at the RTE Radio 1 Folk Music Awards, and they've just arrived in the door from doing a hugely successful tour in England and will be playing for us later on in the Church of St. James. And they kindly came down here this afternoon to play some songs for you. And before they do, I'd just like to say congratulations, lads. Yeah. You're having a good year.
Yeah, it's been a good year.
Not bad.
Not bad. Where did it all start? Just have a little chat about, were the songs at home? Did you pick them up off the radio? Was it records? How did the songs get into your heads? And why did you start singing them?
They were definitely in the background at home, but, not in our immediate consciousness. We didn't think of them as being important, They were like, there's one song that we've just very recently started singing that the only reason that we didn't sing it before now is that we didn't kind of realize that it was a song. Yeah. Because it was just something that we always sort of did with our family, like with our mother and it was like, we didn't think of it as like a song the way you think of like, the pieces you learn that you might sing as like your song, that one that you, when it comes to the sing song and it's your turn, you think of that song. This one was too much like a family thing to think of in that way, and that's kind of how a lot of this stuff was. It was just sort of there in the background. But then we were both into, Brían was into traditional stuff pretty early. I was into lots of different kinds of music growing up, and then we kind of found our way back to it.
We've done a lot of kind of listening to old recordings in the past few years. That's been a lot of our time. Is when we kind of more recently we've been, rather than writing new songs, because we do that too, but we've just been spending a lot of time in the archive and a lot of time finding archival recordings of people that we think are interesting and finding interesting songs, and you have to reconstruct them a lot of the time. That's
it can be a bit like archaeology. It's nice, you find an incomplete version of something and then you have to go look for other versions of it and see if you can piece them together to find what you think of as being the kind of complete version sometimes. Yeah.
And what sort of an audience are listening to these songs? When I was growing up, I was listening to, I suppose, the Clancy Brothers, maybe the Dubliners, Planxty. I remember seeing Planxty for the first time in 1971, supporting Donovan in the City Hall in Cork City. And that was a door open to me of a whole range of these sorts of songs. And at that time, it had a young audience. Are you finding that there is a young and engaging audience for these songs, many of which are quite ancient?
Depends on your definition of youth.
Right.
So some people who listen to us are people who, like yourself, grew up listening to the Clancys and to
young at heart. Yeah,
exactly. And then we have there's a real movement of people who, like ourselves, we grew up listening to our parents' record collections and singing songs at home, kind of at family gatherings and stuff like that. That is that same material. It's that same stuff, and it was in the background for us. And then kind of, I don't know, at some stage these things go around in cycles and it becomes relevant again to you, and it becomes kind of this thing that, maybe when you move away from home, maybe when you find yourself in a very diverse city. And I had a lot of Polish friends growing up when I was a teenager, and it was always a strange thing for me not being able to speak Irish with everyone around me who was Irish, and they found that unusual too. They were like, so what does it mean to be Irish? They'd actually ask, And so you start asking those kinds of questions, and then maybe you say like, oh, maybe it's this, you know, maybe this is what it is for me, and maybe it doesn't matter if it's like nationalist or anything like that. It's just music, and it's nice, you know. It doesn't have to be attached to anything political or anything like that for us, you know. I think I answered a different question.
Well,
That's okay.
Yeah. Sorry, I just went off
but
on
we
a little
do
tangent there.
we do definitely have times where people will bring their parents and grandparents to gigs. So, you know, that's kind of nice. It's fairly intergenerational.
There's a
the
lovely
crowds are.
young scene now anyway in Dublin, which is where I was going before I went off on a tangent. And yeah.
And do you think that there is some sort of a reaction, if you like, to a world that's become a bit more virtual or a bit more augmented? And we hear those terms, you know, artificial, that there's something that's very grounded and very warm, and just the acoustic nature of the thing is almost like analog as opposed to digital, if you know what I mean, that it's human. And as we see the machine and the AI and the algorithm sort of, I suppose, beginning to encroach little by little and become part and parcel of our daily lives, that there's something about real music in real time, played on real instruments as it happens, that is, I suppose, rebalancing for us in some way.
If it gives people that feeling, then that's good enough for me.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, let's give the people that feeling, will we?
yeah.
Right. So what do they sing? What do they start with?
We'll sing.
We'll sing the Bathy. Well, yeah, there's one thing that we've been kind of, I guess, exploring a lot recently is the connection between Donegal and Scotland. And we've been spending a bit of time in Scotland and have met a lot of Scottish singers. There's a huge connection. Our mother is from Arranmore Island, up off the northwest coast of Donegal, and there's an enormous connection between Arranmore and Scotland. So a lot of the songs that are sung in Arranmore and have been sung in Arranmore for years, maybe were Scottish songs or, you know, turned into something else in Scotland and came back home. So we might sing you a couple of them.
Great.
Would be a good thing.
Fire away. So everybody, this is Diarmuid and Brían Gloinn, Ye Vagabonds. I remember when we did Other Voices out at Intel Eamon a couple of years ago now. Brían and Diarmuid took to the stage and played a fantastic series of songs. So here you go.
Philip. Okay, am I on now? Yeah. Philip. It's McGlynn. McGlynn. It's like Billy McGlynn, who's also from around these parts, or lives around these parts anyway, but a different spelling. We're going to sing the Bathy Lads, yeah. So yeah, I love that Moya Cannon poem, but I wish we did have little else to carry. Unfortunately, we have a fair bit to carry as well as the songs.
This is a song from Aberdeenshire in northeast Scotland that we enjoy singing. It's one that we learned from a singer called Cilla Fisher, and it's about those bothy workers. It's about those travelling labourers who would have gone over and back right up until the 20th century. It's still there's still plenty of them around that used to do that. It's a kind of a cautionary tale, though, to watch out for those young lads because they're not to be trusted. And the ones who it specifically mentions not to trust are actually the members of the band, the Gloaming.
Yeah.
So you can. We didn't write the song, you know.
So yeah, you know.
Anyway, you'll see.
They're not our views.
So one thing that we tend to do a lot of at gigs, as well as singing songs, is tune our instruments. But we haven't actually recorded any of that yet. But we're saving it all for the next album. I think it'll go down really well at the RTE Folk Awards.
We're hoping it's going to make us really big in Japan. Yeah, stringed instruments, sometimes the change of climate from cold outside to warm inside can have this effect. Every single string can decide to go very slightly out of tune. Okay, cool.
The boffin lads, when they get fit they're seeking, they'll pack a kist and they'll gang and enlist and leave the lassies greeting. When I was new at sweet 16, beauty used to bloom in. Little did I think at 19 I'd be greeting. They're offing lads, the boffin lads, when they get fit they're seeking, they'll pack a kist in a gang and enlist and leave the lassies greeting. Or the ploughboy lads, they're guidebrow lads, where they're false and deceiving, where they attack on they'll gang away and leave the lassies greeting. They're offing lads, the boffin lads, when they get fit they're seeking, they'll pack a kiss to the gang and enlist and leave the lassies greeting. Well, if I had knew time to contain my mother's bidding, I wouldn't be sitting by her fireside crying hush about my bairn. They're offing lads, the boffin lads, when they get fit they're seeking, they'll pack a kiss to the gang and enlist and leave the lassies greeting. Well, it's hush about, for I'm your man. The Lord knows where's your daddy, but I'll take care and I'll be aware of the young lads in the gloaming. For they're offing lads, the boffin lads, when they get fit they're seeking, they'll pack a kist and they'll gang and enlist and leave the lassies greeting.
So we have a lot of, there's a kind of a Scottish Donegal connection going on, and a lot of the songs we sing are Scottish for that reason. And then we also sing a lot of songs from Arranmore Island, where our mother's from. But what we don't have a huge number of is songs from Carlow, where we grew up. And the song that everybody thinks of, Carlow's not very well represented in any way, shape or form, but least of all in song. And the kind of song everyone thinks of is usually Follow Me Up to Carlow, which any Wexford person will tell you is a Wexford song, because Wexford people are bastards. And see, told you, there's one there. The only heckler will get all the gig. And so went looking for a proper Carlow song, and then heard this song that mentions Carlow, but only found one verse of it. And then in the recording I heard there was one verse, it mentioned Carlow, and then it sort of lilted the melody for the second verse. So we were at this festival in Scotland, and they asked us to sing a Carlow song. So I sang. Well, I said I only have this kind of little bit of a song, but I sang it. And then this fella, Danny Cooper, who's about 80 years old, bit of a legend on the Scottish singing scene, comes up to us in the interval and he says, "Hey boys, point of honour, that's an Aberdeen song." But then he proceeds to give us another two verses, and in his first verse it still mentions Carlow, so we're going to sing that for you now.
Anyway, Danny said he learned this from Jeannie Robertson, who was a friend of his and an amazing singer, a Scottish traveller. So anyway, we learned it from Danny.
Oh, I am a roving journeyman. I go from town to town, and wherever I get a job of work, I'm willing to sit down with me bundle on me shoulder and me grafting tool in hand. It's around the country I do go, I'm a roving journeyman. When I come to County Carlow, the girls jump for joy. Says one and two, the other, right, here comes the roving boy. Some greets me with a bottle and the others with the dram. The toast goes round the table to the roving journeyman. Diddly-addle-daddle-deedle-dum, diddly-addle-day, diddly-addle-daddle-deedle-dum, diddly-addle-day, diddly-addle-daddle-deedle-dum, diddly-addle-day, diddly-addle-deedle-dum, diddly-addle-day. Well, I hadn't been in Aberdeen a day but 2 or 3 when the miller's lovely daughter said she wanted to marry me. She told me that she loved me and she took me by the hand. She went home and told her mother that she loved the journeyman. Walk away, you silly girl, don't bother me no more. How can you love a journeyman you never seen before? Oh, held her tongue now, mother dear, and help me all you can. So round the country I will go with the roving journeyman. Diddly-addle-daddle-deedle-dum, diddly-addle-day, diddly-addle-daddle-deedle-dum, diddly-addle-day, diddly-addle-deedle-dum, diddly-addle-day, diddly-addle-deedle-dum, diddly-addle-day. Well, I took my pick into me hand, and this I heard it say, I'll marry you, and I return and softly stole away. For every town that I go to, I get some new sweetheart, and it breaks me heart so sorely when from them I have to part. I am a roving journeyman, I go from town to town, and wherever I get a job of work, I'm willing to sit down with me bundle on me shoulder and me grafting down and hand. So round the country I do go, I'm a roving journeyman. Diddly-addle-daddle-deedle-dum, diddly-addle-day, diddly-addle-daddle-deedle-dum, diddly-addle-day, diddly-addle-deedle-dum, diddly-addle-day, diddly-addle-daddle-deedle-dum, diddly-addle-day, diddly-addle-daddle-deedle-dum, diddly-addle-day, diddly-addle-dum, diddly-addle-day, diddly-addle-daddle-deedle-dum, diddly-addle-day, diddly-addle-daddle-deedle-dum, diddly-addle-day, diddly-addle-daddle-deedle-dum, diddly-addle-day, diddly-addle-daddle-deedle-dum, diddly-addle-day, diddly-addle-dum, diddly-addle-day, diddly-addle-daddle-deedle-dum, diddly-addle-day, diddly-addle-daddle-deedle-dum, diddly-addle-daddle-deedle-dum, diddly-addle-day, diddly-addle-daddle-deedle-dum, diddly-addle-dum. So around the country I will go, I'm a roving journeyman.
We might sing you that song that Diarmuid mentioned there already. The one that we kind of forgot about as being a song. Anyway. So this is one of those songs that we know now that it is definitely originally a Scottish song, but that made its way over to Ironmore somehow, probably through one of those Bothy lads, those lads from the Gloaming or whatever. But it made its way over to Diarmuid somehow, and our mother would have sung this as a kid, and then she kind of sang it to us as kids, and that. So, but it definitely changed a bit on the way over. So
You should all join in on this one.
yeah,
Yeah, genuinely, we'll teach it to you. It's pretty straightforward, and they did it for us in Aldershot, so you'd make shows of yourselves if you didn't. Aldershot. All up, all over, loads of places have been able to. So if you
Imagine
couldn't
that.
do it now, you look pretty bad.
home of the
Bingo.
British Army. That's where they did it, you know.
So
Couldn't
here it
let
goes
them show
anyway.
up anyway.
It sounds like this.
Okay.
We teach them
Do
the
you want to learn the chorus?
teach them the chorus. Yeah.
Grant. It goes, I'm rover, seldom sober.
I'm a rover, seldom sober.
I'm a rover of high degree.
I'm a rover of high degree.
That's when I'm drinking, I'm always thinking. I'm always thinking. How to gain my love's company. That's it.
Yep, it's great.
These are great. Actually, you've already backed the crowd in Aldershot. I only just said that to get you going.
But I must away now, I cannot tarry. This morning's tempest I have to cross. I will be guided without a stumble into the arms that I love the most. I'm a rover, seldom sober. I'm a rover of high degree. That's when I'm drinking, I'm always thinking how to gain my love's company. At last he came to his true love's dwelling. He sat him down there upon a stone, and through her window he whispered softly, "Is my true lover within a tone?" I'm a rover, seldom sober. I'm a rover of high degree. It's when I'm drinking, I'm always thinking how to gain my love's company. She raised her head then from off her pillow. She raised the blanket from off her breast, and through her window she whispered softly, "Who is disturbing me from my night's rest?" I'm a rover, seldom sober. I'm a rover of high degree. It's when I'm drinking, I'm always thinking how to gain my love's company. Get up now, it's your true lover. Get up now and let me in. For I am weary of my long journey, and I am wet right into the skin. I'm a rover, seldom sober. I'm a rover of high degree. It's when I'm drinking, I'm always thinking how to gain my love's company. She raised the head then from off her pillow. She raised the set and she let them in, and they were locked in each other's arms until the long night was past and gone. I'm a rover, seldom sober. I'm a rover of high degree. It's when I'm drinking, I'm always thinking how to gain my love's company. I'm a rover, seldom sober. I'm a rover of high degree. It's when I'm drinking, I'm always thinking how to gain my love's company. I'm a rover, seldom sober. I'm a rover of high degree. It's when I'm drinking, I'm always thinking how to gain my love's company.
When you wish them, ye Vagabonds. Thanks a million, lads. Gonna meet